How's it going, everyone? For about the fifth day in a row, we are back. We are back. RHMax.tv. That is a short link. It gives you a option to subscribe to the channel as well. If you're not already, feel free to do as you wish there. Yeah, I had a great security stream yesterday with Crypto Kong. Man, just a lot of great streams this week. So had Crypto Khalid or Khaled, it's like DJ Khaled. I remember that on for the first time as well. And yeah, just had a few great streams. So if you need to catch up, there's a lot of replay gang out there. And we're rounding out the week, or the weekend, I should say, with cryptographics coming on to talk about Taurus and how it may be having some PulseChain crossover there with PulseX and such too. And I know that's PulseX, incredible protocol, buy and burn. We know all that stuff. I'm excited to see what Graphics has to say on that and all the pieces there too, and go those technical deep dive and all that fun stuff. So without further ado, welcome back to the show, Cryptographics. How's it going, man?
Hey, man. It's great to be back. Thanks for having me. I'm really looking forward to hanging out with you again today. It's been actually way too long.
It's been a while. It's been a while, man. It's I think the last stream we did was it the Making Money series? I feel like it was like the Making Money.
I think it was Making Money or the Mindset. What was the Mindset ones we were doing way back in the day as well? It was
yeah, it could have been the Crypto Mindset, or I said Crypto Mindset, which is makes me think of DCC intro. It could have been the Mad Gains Mindset. That was, I think that was the one.
One of the last ones for sure.
Yeah. I know because I did a series on making money in crypto, and then I'm not sure if it was that one or Mad Gains Mindset. One of those. That was the last one. So it's been a while. New year, new, like I was saying, the green room, new beard. I've seen you on stream a little bit before, but on the show, first time introducing the beard. It looks majestic. It either looks again lumberjack style, or it looks distinguished gentleman style, and or somewhere in there. But yeah, glad you're doing good, man. Welcome back to the channel.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Glad you are too. This is gonna be fun. Really looking forward to it.
You know, I'm into deep dives and game theory, and again, anything that may be good for PulseChain and PulseX. I'd love to see, things interacting and having anything to do, burning, buying, all that stuff too, all the different mechanics and stuff like that. So yeah, excited to get into it, man. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, well, I guess let's maybe I'll bring up the landing page, just so people can get accustomed to like the logo, the design of things. And actually, let me share this one instead here. So this is just the landing page. We're not gonna go to the white paper just yet. I want to start by just talking about like some of the inspiration for Taurus, why I wanted to come talk to you about it, and what it's all about. Because really, I think a lot of people maybe on this channel too would be familiar with me, because you and I stream so much, and there is still a little bit of, for me, imposter syndrome of like, I'm just a YouTube guy and I created something. And when I genuinely say, I think this is a new paradigm in DeFi 4.0, like it feels weird to say that, because like, I do actually really believe that this is something special, but there's also a part of me that's like, I'm just a YouTuber, I'm just that guy that started streaming like a few years ago, just got into this ecosystem in crypto a few years ago.
Doing t-shirts, crypto t-shirts, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, dude. Actually, that's the craziest part. Yeah, I got into this whole thing is like I started trying to sell those. Did you pick one up, by the way? They were the jerseys, right?
I can't remember. I just remember you telling the origin story and it being like cryptographics, because you're making cryptographics for like shirts and merch and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So to come all the way from there in only a few years to kind of where we are now with Taurus, I mean, it's a trip, man. So Taurus is kind of the expression of everything that I've learned on this journey, conversations that we've had, models that we've created, data points that you and I have gone over together, and many, many others, all led to Taurus. What is a Taurus? Taurus is a toroidal field, right? It's an electromagnetic field, and this is one principle of it, right? And a field goes around and around infinity. It's got this very powerful essence to it that I think is perfect for the nature of the protocol itself too. And it kind of taps into more of who I am personally. And it's kind of like an expression of me on that front as well, spiritually. But anyways, Taurus is the first time where you can basically make your tokens work for you on either side of, we'll call it a median point, like a floor, similar to something like you'd see with like Costa or Hedron or ceilings, right? We're familiar with those from that. Similar to having something like that with Taurus, you have now this point where when you're above that floor, you can make your tokens work extraordinarily fast for you. And when tokens go below that, you're not stuck and you can stake. The easiest way to think about Taurus is it's like combining Bitcoin and Hex into one in a way. It's you mine when prices are really, really good, you mine. And like miners can do, they basically once they're breaking even past their hardware costs and their electricity bills, right? They have their profits. And what they can do is they can essentially take their profits, sell it, buy more hardware again, mine with greater probability of earning more Bitcoin and compound their profits, right? Basically building farms. Now, if for whatever reason the price were to go below that point of where you are mining and you're not profitable anymore, typically miners are stuck and they have to hold on and wait, right? Or sell at a loss. But Taurus then comes in and kind of acts like Hex, where now once it goes down past this point, now you can take your tokens and you could still stake them and you could still earn Taurus tokens. And what's cool about this is both actions earn from the same pool. So you don't have to think about it as like it's two different mechanisms. You're basically having a central pool that emits the supply daily, perpetually. And you have two actions that allow you to enter based on where the price chart is. And that's as simple as Taurus is. So all you have to do is go to the dApp when it's live and look to see on the staking ROI or the creating ROI, which one's bigger. If creating is larger than staking in the ROI, typically you want to create. And if staking is larger than the creating ROI, typically you just want to stake. It's really that simple. So when we go into the deep dive of what really makes this thing cook and really shine under the surface, I want you all who are listening to this to really remember the user experience is just this. It's that simple. You make one decision based on two numbers. And there's a whole bunch of game theory and strategy that makes it sophisticated, but you don't have to do all that. You can come back to this moment right here and remember that it is as simple as I just described. Create or stake based on the ROI. And this basically allows like the lowest risk protocol, which is crazy to say, but it's true because it's the lowest risk protocol I've ever seen and possibly ever created, because no matter where the price is, you can make your tokens work for you either faster or a little slower, but you can always put yourself into a position of making an ROI with Taurus. And that's what makes it truly the first of its kind on the blockchain.
Gotcha. Got a question real quick too. Vaultcom, do you have to stay in your miner until maturity?
Your creations have to be completed and then you can claim at the very end. Yes, you can only, and we'll get into this a little bit later too, but only stakes have the ability to early end.
Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, let's get into it.
Sweet. So let's go to, what I want to do is I want to get, are you cool if we play that first video?
Yeah, go for it.
Let's do it. So if you guys don't know who Crypto Hexplained is, go check him out. I'll make sure that we drop the links. I mean, hexplained.com is where he posts all of his content, written form, and the videos, but he's also got a YouTube channel and he does incredible work for PulseChain as well. He's got tons of videos on like PulseX and Hex and buying PulseChain and everything. So please go support him. I'll bring this tab up right now and then we'll go into, I think this is the first one we want to do here. Yes, this is the right one. Okay, so check this out. Now, we don't have to play the full thing. Do you want to do the full thing? It's 7.5 minutes.
Maybe 7.5 minutes is pretty long for the stream.
Yeah, I know.
Crypto Explained though, a lot of great content and a lot of great explainers on there for different projects and especially in the Hex and PulseChain ecosystem too. But maybe just hit. Is there like a chapter or like a piece that's like the most meaty as far as like what you want to get across, and then the rest of it we can kind of dive into on the white paper?
Yeah, sure. Let's talk about the ETH and the Titanx distribution, because it's how you play balls. You use either ETH or Titanx in Taurus, and I think this is a really big piece to talk about here in terms of what gives Taurus so much power and why this system would even work to begin with. Because the staking and the creating, all this we can talk about pretty simply, but it's the distribution side of things and the underpins of the ecosystem that I think is really important. So why don't we start here? And this is only like maybe a minute and a half, not even. Is that okay?
Sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Every Titan X and ETH that enters the Taurus protocol through creating and staking serves a specific purpose, supporting the system's sustainability and growth. During the first 28 days, known as the buy and build phase, the distribution is adjusted to focus on building liquidity. In this phase, 64% of Titan X and ETH is directed towards buying and burning Taurus tokens, reducing the Taurus supply while increasing demand. ETH is used to buy Titan X, which is then converted into X28, along with all of the Titan X, before being swapped for Taurus. To further support sustainability, approximately 1/4 of the buy and burn funds are stored in a time vault called the Fractal, which releases these funds every 110 days, ensuring consistent deflationary pressure and long-term system stability. 28% of Titan X and ETH is allocated to the buy and build mechanism, pairing Taurus with X28 in its main liquidity pool. This process strengthens market stability and ensures sufficient liquidity for users. The remaining 8% is sent to the Genesis wallet, a reserve for supporting future protocol innovation. While the Genesis wallet adds flexibility to the system, users should hold no specific expectations for its use. Starting on day 29, the distribution shifts to the standard allocation, 84% to the buy and burn, 8% to the buy and build, and 8% to the Genesis wallet. This phased approach ensures the creation of robust liquidity, reducing volatility and creating fairer opportunities for all participants. By efficiently allocating resources, the Taurus protocol balances sustainability, market stability, and long-term value for its participants. Taurus brings a unique approach to the fair launch model, offering flexibility and sustainability within the Titan X ecosystem.
I'll pause it there. But I wanted to just bring that up because that is the power, where so much of the power comes from Taurus. And what it doesn't add in there as well is the first two pools that are created are, it says X28 and Taurus, but the other one is brought over to PulseChain, and there's going to be a Taurus and PLSX pool, which that pool is critical. Now, it's kind of funny because it's going to be a small pool at first. However, what I can't fully say, but what I can allude to is, why would you create a liquidity pool on another chain randomly? What possible reasoning would there be that has purpose for putting a liquidity pool on another chain?
What have people speculated of? Can you speak of that? Like, have you heard other people say their speculation?
I've heard some people thinking like Taurus is going to somehow be over on PulseChain as well. I have heard, you know what? There hasn't been too many people saying ideas, because I think there hasn't been too much, honestly. People are kind of just like, what is this? Like, what is it? What is happening here? Like, why? The ideas aren't there. And it's good too, because I've made a couple comments about it where people have speculated, and actually they did, and I can't remember now, but my commentary typically has been, be careful in making moves based on what you think is going to happen, because what's in your head is probably not in my head, and it's not my vision. And so I might have nipped that in the bud a little too soon to get any ideas out from what people think, but
I mean, totally. Anything that has I've heard of projects before that have either created liquidity pools or otherwise connections, or different interactions across chains, PulseChain and otherwise. And a common speculation is, this tokens could be on PulseChain one day, or it could be again buying and burning and doing all kinds of things with core coins, or it could have some kind of positive pieces there for it as well. So anyways, just curious, like what the overall reaction, and sure, we'll get into some of that when we get some of the pieces of the white paper too, but there's a lot of different pieces to it. And again, some of them, as we've alluded to with the stream, related to PulseX and stuff, at least for now. So yeah, use your imagination, everyone, if you're interested enough to look into it.
Yeah, what I can say is there is an Easter egg out there that if you can find it, it will give you a pretty good hint as to what's coming. I won't say where you can find it, how you can find it, but there is one out there. And a few people have actually found it already. But the actual hint that you'll get of what's coming is going to be in the DApp when the DApp goes live, or when the DApp actually gets maybe previewed, I'll say, for the first time. So that'll give more of a hint. But I would say just be patient, because I think people are going to be really excited about the purpose, the end goal for having that set up there.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I guess carrying on with Taurus, let's go to the white paper maybe. Let's start there.
Yeah.
So
I'm really curious. There are definitely a lot of different mentions of, again, burning, liquidity, burn liquidity, all that stuff too. I mean, yeah, definitely want to bring out some of those interesting meaty details. You know, once you feel like everyone's got a grasp on like the basics and like understanding of creation, definitely want to get into some of the pieces that are like, whoa, well, that's an interesting game mechanic for one reason or another.
Yeah, and we'll definitely get there. We'll start with the overview just for now, and we can dive slowly into each aspect here. So basically, Taurus is as simple as this image here, right? You choose from creating or staking, and either action earns you Taurus from the Taurus pool, and by the end of your stake creation period, you claim. Now, the big thing that I really learned on my travels, I'll say, over the last year and a half is how to create an environment which is optimized to be completely fair. Like, you're going to see things in this with the staking that have never been done before, including even a staking fee. And the amount of fairness that is in Taurus, while still allowing there to be room for incredible profitability, is what makes Taurus special. So as a quick overview, Taurus is fair launch, meaning you put in $1, everyone puts in $1, they're going to get the same basically advantage, if you want to call it that, as you. The only advantage anyone technically has is by putting in more economic energy. However, even that, you can say that they actually take on more risk because of that. So it's not necessarily an advantage if something were to not go as smoothly as people would hope, right? Obviously, with Taurus, everything's going to be bulletproof as far as I can control, because I have the best of the best on it. But you're creating up to 88 days. You're staking up to 88 days. So this is a much shorter protocol. Oh, and I don't think you guys are actually seeing what, okay, I had the wrong tab shared here. So sorry, guys. So this is the image I'm referring to here, creating, staking, earning, claim. But with Taurus, so it's fair launch, you can create or stake. Both actions are the same length max. So you can only do a maximum of 88 days for creating or staking. I personally learned a lot from watching the longer styles of staking, and it's not that they're wrong. It's not that they're bad. In fact, they're fantastic. And for those people that actually are able to delay gratification, they're going to be winning so far beyond what they ever imagined. It's going to be amazing. But there's also a market that doesn't necessarily want to lock in for 15 years, and so basically, Taurus was created as a way to compound, right? It's a generator, like a toroidal field that goes around and around and around and around and around. And it allows people to basically build and build and build and build their bag and build their bag and build their bag. And even if the price goes down a little bit, they can still take actions instead of being at the mercy of the price chart in order to do so, which is why creating and staking is so important to understand. So again, we could go through this stuff we've already talked about here, but the few other things I want to talk about are for Taurus. So when you play ball, you put in Titanx or you put in ETH. Now, for those of you who are in the PulseChain ecosystem, you can just ignore the word Titanx. If you were to ever even think about playing ball, it would be you could just come in with ETH. Now, I don't ever recommend selling any tickers that you're actually holding, because those can and will do very well. So I'm not ever going to tell you to get out of anything you're holding to get into Taurus. But what I will tell you is that for anyone that brings in ETH to the Taurus system, that has to go somewhere, right? And in Taurus, 84% of all that ETH that comes in goes to buying and burning Taurus. That is the most ever for a perpetual protocol. And on top of that, Taurus also focuses massively on liquidity for the life of the protocol by bringing in 8% of that ETH and going and buying Taurus and pairing it in its main liquidity pool to build the liquidity over the course of its life. And there's two phases here that we'll get to it a little later, but maybe I'll pause and just see if you have anything on that you want to touch on before we go a little bit deeper into like the supply mechanics and whatnot. Because I think these 2 points alone are absolutely massive.
Yeah, I mean, definitely on the tokenomics side. So the buy and burn for Taurus, okay. And is there a diagram that shows? I know you had a diagram that showed maybe the creation or the staking, but is there one that shows the buy and burn or anything yet?
Not yet. No, I have a wonderful stream that I can refer to for the diagrams that I think is Jukes the Great. He has all the diagrams that he made, but I haven't been able to make them yet. No. That's a good reminder for me to get on those because those are really important to have.
Yeah, I think it's also, I mean, just part of that too is, I guess another question would be like the trustless, the DeFi aspect of it. Can you talk a little bit about that and how trustless is the buy and burn? Like, how are those pieces? How do those pieces work?
Yeah, so Taurus is like 99.999% fully immutable, fully decentralized. There is one parameter that can be changed within Taurus. And so the way the buy and burn works is it has about every 10 minutes, there is an amount that can be called to go and buy and burn, right? The only adjustment that can be made will be basically the slippage and obviously because we learned from today with the protocol that, or I guess it was yesterday, that didn't do so hot, unfortunately, and had a problem because of slippage. So slippage will be able to be set as well as the amount per interval, but there will always be an amount available to be called every 10 minutes. Now, everything else in the system is immutable. There are no other functions that can be changed whatsoever. Everything is locked completely. But the reason I needed this to be adjustable is because, I've watched very, very intensely many protocols that have both had benevolent actors, maybe a benevolent whale, maybe a singular centralized entity that helps out, has like a guiding hand from time to time. And then I've also seen protocols that haven't had it. And honestly, the difference between the amount of success that is available for having a small guiding hand is just like bar none. You can't even compare it. So I don't like the thing that I really wanted to do though was for Taurus, I did not want there to be any speculation on what an entity that held Taurus tokens could do. I didn't want there to be any sort of like worry about that. So there's no central entity that's ever going to hold Taurus. If me, the founder, wants to go in and play ball, I need to go and play with the rest of everybody else. I need to go put in ETH to go and actually play and earn tokens. There's no special anything for anyone on the inside. It's fair launch completely. And everything is that way. So there's, like I said, there's one parameter in there, and that will be able to be renounced. And the goal will be to have that renounced fully. It's just, I wanted to make sure that this protocol, if it needs a change in, let's say, pace from the buy and burn, right, every now and again, just to keep things flowing smoothly, to make sure that there's not wasted economic energy, or, let's say underused economic energy, right? That can be actually made sure it's operating properly.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think people are probably a little bit more on edge about new protocols and tokenomics and stuff. With we've seen Ulti over the last few days and what happened with that. Do you think tokenomics audits and stuff like that, even beyond security audits and code audits and stuff like that, they'll become more popular now that it's like, whoa, wow, some tokenomics can look really interesting, but then not work out so well. And again, I guess maybe the jury's still out on some of that on that stuff too. But just the initial, when these events happen, it's like, oh, if maybe the code is secure, but the tokenomics didn't quite work the way they were supposed to, and all that stuff. Anyways, different types of audits. I know, I think I saw in here that you're planning on getting some for Taurus, but have you thought about tokenomics audit, or you think they'll become more popular? Unfortunately, once we see protocols not do so well from time to time.
I mean, I think they might, but my take after this whole incident that we're referring to, I mean, I won't say who, but I know multiple people that did reach out prior to point out things that were going on that were going to be issues. And those people are also people that I'm currently working with on my stuff. And it's the feedback that I've received from people that have built successful protocols, and the jury's obviously still out on whether this is fully true, but my belief so far is that when you can find people that truly understand tokenomics and have designed things that are working very, very, very well, they have such a deep understanding of how the thing will actually work versus someone that's just looking at the code, that typically they're oftentimes a better resource. And I mean, I can't tell you like Taurus is not what it once was. And it is what it is right now because of the amount of conversations and hard conversations that I've had. Now, what I'm not saying is that Taurus is not going to be audited. Taurus is going to be double audited for security. But I have also, vetted this through multiple people that are very high pedigree in terms of their knowledge, their ability to build, what they've already put out in the open. And so far, there hasn't been anything that's come up in terms of question marks of how this will pan out. And I'm always open to the idea. If the right person came to me and said, hey, you really need to take a look at this and you really need to get a tokenomics audit, I would consider it. But right now, all the people that I trust immensely are actually telling me the opposite. They say, don't waste your money.
Which
is really interesting.
Yeah, it's tough to see. And again, to me, it doesn't matter what chain or what project, whatever. I hate to, see protocols not, just fail for whatever reason. And especially when it's not even a bug, the common bugs we think of, whether it's, inflation bugs or, other failures in the protocol or otherwise, when it's just like, oh, we thought it was going to do this, but it actually did this. And, it has this particular thing going on. So yeah, just, anyways, I know that's fresh in everyone's mind. Every time they see a new protocol coming around, they're like, "Oh, yeah, that's this thing just happened recently." So just curious, and maybe, I mean, hopefully there will be more even formalized and maybe not so expensive programs out there that can do these types of audits. Maybe it's a new thing. Maybe a tokenomics audit, or the modern form of it that these new projects could really benefit from. Maybe we'll see new companies or new things come from that make it like, or even AI. Maybe AI will be able to really help in that form too. But yeah, it sounds like you've been talking to a lot of people that have been helping you or giving you guidance and stuff on it, and yeah, hopefully the more audits the better. So yeah, just curious to get your take on that.
Totally. Well, I mean, I do hope that someone comes out with the ability, or a service comes out that really can audit long-term tokenomics and like sustainability models. And it's literally just been from those that I have heard that have done those kind of audits. They've literally come back and said like it was useless, right? Like I don't think that's everybody, but it's just becoming a larger sample size the more I've had those kind of conversations. So I can't really ignore it. The one thing I do want to say on the front of like, because obviously we're super fresh off a protocol literally failing and $7 million getting trapped of, people that we know's money. I don't want to come on here just for the sake of like telling everyone that like, okay, you should go into this. What I'm here to do is just share my baby, share what I'm building, share what I'm excited about. And for you who are watching to just take it in, decide for yourself. And if it looks good to you, cool. If it doesn't, that's also fine. But I'm not here to convince you that it is anything more than it is. I'm going to tell you just from the words on the page. I'm going to describe it exactly like it is to you, what it's designed for. And at no point do I want you all to feel like I'm trying to get you to participate. I want you to be educated. I want you to be aware of it, but it's up to you. So I just wanted to put that out there because, I don't want to come off as someone who is trying to get people in. It's like, if you get it and you're in, cool. If you're not, also cool. But, I don't want to drag anyone around or try to make anyone feel like I'm manipulating anyone, because that's not who I am. That's not how I want to operate.
Yeah, let's kick it off, man. Supply mechanics. Let's get on the list.
Let's do it. So, so the supply mechanics in Taurus are simply put here, but there's basically two stages. So in Taurus, you create, which, if you are familiar with what's called mining, similar, right? It's not mining, it's creating. But creating gets you into the Taurus pool, which we'll talk about shortly in the secondary supply distribution. But when you create a principal amount of Taurus upfront, which is based on the amount of economic energy you're putting in and how long you want to create for. And basically that determines the amount that you're creating upfront. Now, that is the primary supply creation. The secondary, though, is when you create and you have your principal amount of Taurus. On top of that, you're earning from the Taurus pool. So this makes it incredibly easy in the system to generate some form of an ROI, right? Because if you have just a pool, and let's say there's 10 or 100,000 tokens a day over 88 days, that's like capped, right? Meaning that can only be stretched so much before the ROI zeroes out. Only so many people can enter in, or the price has to go way up in order for all these tokens to be valuable enough where a lot of people can come in to fight for them. But by giving people a principal amount up front, this allows a higher probability for ROI. And in the end, not just right now when it's early, because early people are probably going to do this is like any protocol. This isn't some secret sauce though. It's like people that are early just to some form of protocol like this, where there's like a supply emission that can be captured, typically you're going to do better. But the reason why this is chosen for the long term is, though, when there is growth, when there's expansion and maturity, and there are tons of users that are coming and fighting for it, or fighting for this supply and fighting for ROI, this pool and these two mechanics combined allow for so much economic energy to come in and still have an ROI. Because of this, you create up front and then you earn on top of it. It's crazy. So in the modeling that I've done, if we were to assume like $1.75 starting price of Taurus, you could see $1 billion come in and everyone would still get a 6% ROI. Like, think about that for a second. Like, that's how elastic this whole system is, right? Like, and that's why I designed it that way. So down the road, hopefully when when my vision plays out to the point where you have a lot wider adoption, you have a more mass adoption, more mature ecosystem, it can handle a ton of users coming in and still serving the purpose of being a tool for financial freedom and wealth generation in the many years to come.
Yeah, so interesting. So total supply, yeah, just refresh people too. Big supply, small supply, and then I guess where are the incentives, and maybe we'll get into it when you get to staking stuff too, but what would the incentives be for participation? And let me know if I'm getting ahead of it.
Yeah. So so you got to think about your ROI. Like, your ROI is the tokens you've earned, right? That's your incentive to play ball in the Taurus pool, is to capture some of that ROI, right? Now, your incentive also is actually to compound, meaning to go from Taurus back into either the X28 or Titan X or ETH, and then go back in the protocol to compound, right? It's a way of growing, because effectively when let's say you go in and you get 1,000 Taurus as your principal and you gain 1,000 Taurus by the end of your creation period, right? And the prices are high. You could take your 2,000 Taurus, sell it, go back in, and it's very likely that you get more as your principal than you had originally had for your entire last creation and earn period as what you're starting with. And now you're earning on top of that. So the incentive is to, on the creation side, is to basically build and build and build. And so what happens is, when, let's say, the price goes down and all of a sudden now your creation goes to like a negative ROI, right? Or low ROI, and the staking ROI is now higher. So it doesn't make sense to do that whole compounding thing again. Well, now instead of just being SOL and stuck, right, because you're at the mercy of the price chart, now you can go and stake to also earn, just like you were when you're creating, and you can then earn tokens to put yourself back into an ROI. So it's kind of like a mix between Bitcoin and Hex in the way that it works. And it's all about that central supply emission that you're trying to capture to earn your ROI. That's the main incentive for the Taurus pool, right? Now, what allows that, or go ahead, I'll pause for a second.
No, I just want to say, so on the creation part, on the supply part, it can grow. So a big supply would mean like a lot of people participating in it, all that stuff. However, how much does the burning, like how much will it shrink based upon that?
Yeah, so this is where the beauty of the system kind of plays out. And if you were to model this and you were to see, okay, in 20 years, how many tokens are going to come out based on the way the Taurus pool works, you'd see about 130 million, roughly, just from the Taurus pool alone. Now, when people are creating, right, they're essentially putting $1 in and getting maybe a little bit of around $1 of Taurus up front, depending on the prices, obviously, sometimes more, sometimes less. But effectively, 88% of all of the ETH that comes in, of all the economic energy that comes into Taurus to play ball, goes to buying Taurus off the market again. So basically, you'll have probably around 150, 160 million tokens cap, somewhere around there, from the creating plus the Taurus, after you take into consideration how much buying power the buy and burn and the buy and build is going to have in alleviating the extra supply that's coming in. And what's really cool about the staking side, because when people are creating, they're bringing in 100% of their economic energy, right? And that's all going into a vault, which then goes later to buy up the token, right, and burn it. But what happens is, because the buy and burn isn't designed to just burn all that every single day, it's not going to like dump everything all at once. It's a slower burn, but it's a controlled burn. Sometimes faster, sometimes it'll be slower, right? But what happens is when there's a ton of sell pressure, a ton of people are creating and there's a lot of profit, people are going to sell to a certain degree, right? And then people will stop selling. And that's going to be below the threshold where people are going to be creating. Now, it might be way below, it might be a little below. We don't know yet, obviously. We're going to have to see. But what happens is when people start staking, now all of a sudden the sell pressure is completely alleviated. And now the buy and burn can push those prices up and get people back into profit and get the creating going again, in order for people to then do the compounding, because you can early end stake, and it's a whole other thing. But it's cool because it's like the creating gives people the opportunity to compound. And the moment it stops being able to compound, the system goes into like safeguard mode, which is staking. And then the buy and burn can go and push the price up back into the original high ROI mode.
Well, just thinking too, it seems like a key part of this is incentivizing staking, because that's taking away your sell pressure, right? Like, but if they're just creating, but they're not, I guess, yeah. How do you get people to, how do you get people to stake in this, I guess? Yeah, maybe you want to remind me on that, on that piece.
So staking is super unique in Taurus. Now, what we haven't talked about is the fact that there is a 5% fee in order to stake. So there's a reason I'm bringing this up now, because creating essentially, right, there's going to be a certain amount of ETH. Let's say it's 1 ETH creates 1,000 Taurus, or 2,000 Taurus, right? That means basically Taurus is at $2,000 or $2, sorry, right? So effectively, your fair value, your break-even point for creating, right? If you're going to put in 1 ETH and get 2,000 Taurus, that's like break-even. If Taurus is above $2, now you're basically buying at a discount and getting more Taurus for your money, right? You're getting an increased amount. So there's an arbitrage play there essentially. But what happens is when the value of ETH you're putting in does not get you the same amount as you could buy in the market, now there's a disincentive to go into create, because now you're actually getting a little bit of a loss. And so what happens is, because of this 5% fee, we can kind of almost ignore that for now, but it is minuscule enough, but powerful enough for the system, where that when the price goes below 10%, now all of a sudden you're able to get a deal on Taurus on the market and pay the 5% fee, and it's still cheaper than creating. And so now for people that are also just holding, all they have to do is pay 5% of the relative cost to create whatever tokens that they're holding. So let's say, like I said, it costs 1 ETH to create 2,000 Taurus. It would basically, someone would have to stake 2,000 Taurus with a 0.05 ETH protocol fee, in order to get into the staking pool. This helps the buy and burn, helps the buy and build, and it also acts as a difficulty measure and a protector for the system for malevolent actors from coming in and trying to take over the entire Taurus pool. So if someone wants to come in and put $1 million in, they have to pay 5% of what it costs to create $1 million in Taurus. Like, that's pretty significant, right? So they have you, and over time, this gets more and more difficult. So it's like, it's always protecting. The early people can't game the system, and they can't just own Taurus years down the road. They have to pay a hell of a lot if they want to stake 1 million tokens a few years in. That would be insane. It's going to be nuts for people to do that, because they're going to have to pay so much into the system, which helps everybody else. But this is how the incentivization works. Is that making sense?
Yeah. I just think that seems like a key point to prevent sell pressure is heavy incentivizing of staking, but yeah, making that whole thing sustainable, balanced, and also rewarding for everyone. Like, that's the key. It kind of leads me to like, what does it need? Okay. The ideal situation, and you could play on the inverse of this as well. Like, what piece is, like, what do you need a lot of people doing, creating, staking, holding, whatever. Sorry, I think blurred for a second. What pieces will make Taurus successful? And the inverse, like, what would make this system slow down and just like, not be running, or not, be incentivizing? What needs to go right, and what happens if those things don't occur?
The only thing that I've been able to come up with that makes Taurus completely fail is if people were to go. I mean, even this though, I'm not saying it's like, as far as I can tell, I haven't found a hole in it yet, because here, let me play a few scenarios through. So basically, when someone does a selfish action, when they go and they sell their Taurus on the market, in order to get that Taurus, they either bought it or they created it. They already put economic energy into the buy and burn. So now the buy and burn can gobble that up and never have to worry about them selling again. If someone goes and they compound, right? So they're taking their Taurus that they've got, they sell it all the way down to ETH, and then they put it back in the system. That's a selfish thing, but they're putting, basically, they put $1 in, they got $2 out. Now they're putting $2 back in the system to feed the buy and burn. Like, these selfish actions are all very great. Now, also, if people only staked, which would be the only thing I could see with Taurus is if, for whatever reason, when it was profitable to create, people just didn't, and people only staked, that would be a little weird. But the thing is because typically the way staking is going to operate is it is mostly only going to make sense to do longer term stakes, like 88 days. That's a lot of time without sell pressure for the buy and burn and the buy and build to be consistently working with the price chart and doing moves and making moves. So, I mean, the biggest thing that is going to make Taurus run smoothly, the more people that come in initially, the smoother it's going to operate. If people come in and there's less people that come in originally, it's just going to be like stupidly high ROI for a small number of people. And then the price chart's going to come down, and there's going to have to be a period of correction and chewing up the supply again, putting it into liquidity, gathering up all that basically supply that was brought back onto the market. And that could take some time for sure, but it just depends, right? Like, there's every time someone makes a negative action or takes an action in the system, they have to fund the buy and burn. And that buy and burn, because it doesn't get burned all in one day, it's going to be around. And that, because people want to play ball in the system, and we'll talk about this, because it's actually a really important thing to understand how the ROI will work. Because there's always going to be an ROI, someone will always play ball.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get an ROI.
So, because there is, you're up to 88 days that you can create and stake for, right? And there's always tokens being emitted, right? Basically, imagine this. So let's say Taurus launches at $1.75, roughly speaking, right? Basically, for the first person that comes in that plays ball in Taurus, creates, they're going to see something like 1,000,000% ROI. Because effectively, they're the only one that the system is looking at that can see that they're going to get shares and earn, right? So that shows that the system looks into the future and sees how much of Taurus you're going to get over time based on everybody else. But what happens is, let's say everyone on day one goes in for 88 days, right? On day 88, all those shares are automatically removed from the Taurus system. There's no more good accounting style stuff. You don't have to go in and remove somebody. It's automatic. It takes all those shares out the moment that they're done, so it stops diluting the pool. Now, what happens is the pool then acts like, or the ROI, I should say, acts like all those people are no longer in the pool. So if 50% of the people in the pool all of a sudden are removed, now everyone's ROI just doubles, right? And the ROI that people see on the DApp goes up by double for staking and for creating. And it's going to create a FOMO event of people back in. And so if enough people come out at one time, the ROI spikes back up to re-incentivize people to come back in the system. So there's never a dull moment. It's not like if people aren't playing ball, there's nothing to be had. It's like if people aren't playing ball, some people are winning. You know, there's always tokens to be had. And for those people to be playing ball, they have to commit to the system. They have to bring in funds, which help the buy and burn, push up the price.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think we're 46 minutes in. We haven't even talked about PulseX, man. You want to? It's on my shirt. It's on my shirt today.
Let's go. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, PulseX was chosen to. Now, there's going to be a small liquidity pool initially that's going to be made. Now, the reason I even you might be thinking, okay, well, why are we talking about this if there's only going to be a small liquidity pool? And we'll get to that a little bit more. It is important because Taurus is not the end of my vision, and a small liquidity pool, potentially near a bottom, can turn into a big liquidity pool later after 10, 100, 1,000x, right? So while that is maybe possibly not meaningful now, what you'll see if we go to the distribution, we go to the liquidity pools, it's going to be a 20K liquidity pool initially, and that's it. But when you see phase 2 come out, I know that you might be thinking, it's just 20K, whatever. Why are you even here? Well, there's a few things this starts the process because it's on PulseX V2. This is going to have arbing going on. So there's going to be small contributions to the PulseX buy and burn that's going to happen. It's minuscule, right? It's minuscule. I'm not asking anyone to be like, wow, this is incredible. But this is like planting a seed. And seeds grow over time. And when you water the seed and you add different sorts of nutrients and all sorts of other additives to it to help it grow, and you build stuff on top of it, potentially, you might see a lot more that comes from that. Because, and I should talk about why PulseX was chosen. So PulseX is a deflationary asset with a buy and burn. And what's cool is because PulseX is like the OG buy and burn, cap supply token, it has a special place in my heart, and especially because when PulseChain reaches the heights that we all know it can and will, the volume on PulseX V1 and V2 is going to be nuts, right? And you are going to have so much burning going on that, right now we're at, 5% of the supply has already been burnt, and we've had basically it's been a long last few years. We've had moments of things are looking great, but we haven't had our moment yet. PulseChain hasn't had its moment yet. So when you look to the future, PulseX and the buy and burn, because it's not coming internally, it's actually really cool. There's two different types of buy and burns. There is an internal buy and burn where someone puts value into a system that later goes and buys back the token. It's like a buy back. And the way the PulseX works is interesting. It's different. It leverages outside value to bring in to buy the token. And not saying which one's better or worse, but it's interesting. And it creates a perpetual wheel that can deflate PulseX massively. And 5% is pretty big of a trillion, but it's only going to get bigger. And so potentially when you have something else coming in that turns that to a whole nother level and adds potentially even more immense burning pressure to PulseX, cumulatively speaking, if you build on something that's a deflationary asset and you also work at creating scarcity and demand for that underlying asset, it's a positive feedback loop upwards. And so that's why Taurus is built the way it is. It's built on a deflationary asset, Titan X. And you also have this setup which is obviously going to have something else. So it's like, this is the pattern. You build on something that's deflationary, make it so that way you're driving the scarcity and the demand for the underlying thing that it's paired with, and watch it just do things you can't even imagine.
Yeah, definitely bullish. You know what? As soon as I saying that, I'm bullish on PulseX. Bullish. That word means PulseX bullish. There you go, bullish. You heard it here first. Yeah. So also on this, all LP tokens will be burnt. Why is that important? Why does that matter here? Yeah, maybe explain like how that works.
Yeah, this comes down to user security, immutability, having zero, they're just having immense security, making sure things are secure. Nothing can be rugged. Users cannot get the shit into the stick. And I really wanted to make sure with all of these that once it's created, it's created. Can't be removed. It's always there. No one can touch it for any reason. No one can get hacked. It is locked and permanent. And I think this is really the ethos of Taurus, is making sure that everything that is good for the users is considered and utilized in Taurus. And there's only one metric, period, that can be changed at all. Everything else is to make sure that the users has the best, safest, most reliable experience. There's even I was using this for a while, and I still talk about, I want people to be able to come to Taurus and whatever else comes afterwards, possibly on PulseChain, that know that they can come to these protocols and place their economic energy there and sleep better at night, because they know exactly how it's going to operate. They have zero worries. They have there's no way something can go wrong where they get rugged or lose their money from the protocol failing. It's just an impossibility. That was the main goal with everything that I was building here, including making it incredibly powerful and really focusing on trying my best to make sure that the ROI is the most important thing in the protocol. Because I want, if users aren't winning at some point or another, in my opinion, what's the point, right?
A lot of people do play to win. That's true. Yes, yeah, they
exactly
got it. Just one more. Can we go through a scenario real quick on this too? Just so 20K again, small piece. First 20K in ETH, used to bridge over PulseChain by PulseX. Mints 20K worth of Taurus, bridges both the PulseChain, creates a PulseX wrap Taurus pair on PulseX V2. And then the burning of the tokens piece. Have you run any scenarios where, okay, PulseX does do 100x, let's say, and that's worth, what is that, 20 million? Just top of my head, I don't know. Add some zeros, 100x, 2 million, one of those.
I think maybe 2 million, or no, it'd be it'd be a $4 million liquidity pool before arbitrage and all that stuff. Yeah.
So what does that mean? Like, why is that good for PulseChain? Like, why is that, what does that do for the protocol on PulseChain?
So again, this is one of those things where there are small things that we can look to now, and there's going to be much bigger things that we can talk about soon. But the small things now is, as that grows, because you're going to have Taurus that's over here on ETH, and you're going to have Taurus that's over here on PulseChain with PulseX, you have two different markets. Now you're going to have, the heavier those two pools get, the more arbitraging has to happen. Arbitrage is volume, especially in PulseX and on exchange. The more volume is sent through PulseX, the more PLSX is bought and burnt via PulseX's system, right? So, and over time, for people getting into Taurus, if you have something like PulseX that's doing let's say it does 1,000x. Let's go to the moon here, right? PulseX does 1,000x.
Well, 10,000x is technically the moon, sir.
Okay, right. Sorry, 10,000x. We're doing a 10,000x here. Yeah. What do you think is going to happen? It's going to drag up Taurus. It's got notes as it grows, as its liquidity expands and grows, and the value of Taurus goes up with PulseX. It is going to pull up the ROI. It's going to pull up everything attached to Taurus on this end. Now imagine if you had even heavier liquidity on PulseX. Let's just play a game here. Let's say for some reason there was way more liquidity than just 20K that ends up happening over on PulseChain. Much, much, much more. Now what happens if you're feeding that pool, which is pushing up the demand of PulseX, which is increasing its price, which is increasing the total liquidity and therefore its weight, its arbitrage, the volume of volume needed to make the arbitrage happen, which feeds into buying and burning PulseX. I mean, you're going to have this like rocket ship situation where now they're like, oh, glued at the hip. and it's pulling everything up, right? And what's cool is because Taurus is also built on a deflationary asset with Titan X. And personally, I think it will do really well. What's cool is as this scenario plays out, and you have a weighted pulse chain side where there's a lot of weight in liquidity over here. And let's say Taurus just on its own starts going up, it's going to pull up this. And it's this Hart's Law rocket ship where you now have two deflationary assets that are tied together essentially that are now paired with two other very high performing and positive feedback loop inducing assets that are basically creating like a moonshot essentially and pulling everything up with it, all while burning PLSX, contributing to the total ecosystem's health, getting people bullish again, and bringing some excitement to the space.
Wow, that could be the rally call of 2025. Make people bullish again.
Yeah, exactly.
Get people bullish again. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I just wanted to dive into that a little bit too, because that's obviously an interesting part for PulseChain and PulseX. And all right, what else, man? I feel like we hit staking, creating, again, the bridging part, the supply mechanics. It looks like we got grace periods, penalties, audits. Yeah, what do you want to wrap up on this?
Let's do I think grace periods is a good thing because this kind of really solidifies what Taurus is all about, is not taking more from the users, making sure the users have a good experience, and that I genuinely want people to win when they play with Taurus. Like create, stake, win. That's my new slogan for Taurus. And grace periods are just like a fractal of that. And basically the grace periods and penalties are the most giving I could possibly make without basically taking away from the system. So I feel like it's completely balanced. So when your earning period via staking or creating is completed, there's a 14-day grace period. And after this 14-day grace period, you can only lose the tokens you've earned. And for the 7 days after the 14 days that is your grace period, you'll lose an equal amount that will go back into the Taurus pool. But Taurus will never penalize the tokens that you've created or staked. What's yours is yours and does not belong to the protocol. So you can actually make sure that you're very comfortable with going in knowing that the penalties are not going to kill you. If you go, let's say you go and you put in a ton of money, you put in 100 grand, right? And for some reason, life happens right at the end of your creation period and you can't get to your computer. Something happens and you can't make it. You still have what you put in and you don't get penalized for that. Yes, you don't necessarily get anything on top of it because you weren't able to make it back in time, but you don't have to worry about life happening and you getting penalized because of it. It's a very, very, very safe protocol. That's why I keep saying it's the lowest risk protocol ever created, because of how many different safety mechanisms are there for people to continuously either make an ROI or actually make sure that they don't lose their base funds.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Had a dev win demo, please. Win demo.
Oh man, I can tell you right now, I can't wait for the first demo. I know the devs are doing some integration with the DApp right now. Actually, you know what? Let me see if I can find a tiny little, it's not really going to matter really. Maybe let me see if I can find something here. One sec.
Okay.
I've got a couple, maybe small things I could show you that, will give you an understanding as to how easy this ROI will be to see how the DApp might look. I really wanted Taurus to be absolutely beautiful, and I mean, if you're watching this and you're like, man, I can't believe this guy's talking about Taurus, blah, 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 go let's look at the logo for a second, because this makes me laugh every time I see it. Do you see any inspiration in color scheme to anything in particular?
I mean, colors like Hedron, Akusa?
No, look at the Hex logo. Look at the gradient that Hex uses.
Okay. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I've seen so many logos. Sorry, I'm not even sensitive to like the gradients at this point. Like all the community protocols and all the things just kind of blend together. But okay, nice. I was looking for hexagons, but I didn't see those. But okay, the gradient though, nice. Okay.
And you know what was funny? This all came out by accident and just shows like, it just, the colors that stuck for me are the very colors that pulled me into crypto. which is through Hex. So it's just like funny how full circle. I didn't try to make these colors like copy Hex. I didn't try to make them even at all reminiscent of Hex. But yet here we are, and it's like, wow, that's been like my first love in crypto is Hex. And here we are, a little homage, little tip of the hat to Richard and what he created. So, I mean, it's just funny, you know? And what was I going to show? I was going to show something else too. What was it? Oh, right. I was going to go look at the DApp. I was going to find you guys a little bit of a sneak peek here. Yeah, give me 1 second. Let's see. My computer's struggling a little bit, but it's not much. Like I can't show you guys the full DApp right now, unfortunately, which I would love to. You know, it's still in development. It's still getting integrated. I know. But if I showed you the full DApp, I'd give away way too much because there's, like I said, there's a little Easter egg on there that will give away what's coming in the future. And I can't do that just yet. So I need to hold back a little bit, which I really don't want to. It's so hard to hold back this stuff when you're so excited about it and you just want it to be out in the open. Like I can't tell you how difficult it is. I just want to get it out there already, but you know, marketing and patience and all that stuff. I don't know.
Your agent's telling you, just don't do it. Just don't do it. I know you want to.
It's hard, right, man. It's hard. Oh man, where is this thing? Sorry guys. It was just, I apologize. It's taking so long. Okay, I did find it. So I know this is so small, but this is how big the ROI is going to look on the screen. And this is how the button's going to look. So you're going to come here. It's a huge button. And I mean, I've never seen a button done quite like that before. I mean, he killed it. Like the fact that Taurus is spinning in there, I love it. But this is what we're going to see. And obviously it doesn't say miner anymore. So it's going to say ROI. But you're going to come to the DApp and you're going to see the ROI and you're like, okay, sweet. I'm going to do this one because this one's the bigger ROI. It's literally going to be that easy. And then when you're done, you're going to go back to the bottom of the page, just like similar to ending a hex stake. And you're going to see end or claim. It's going to show you all your stats, the yield that you got, your ROI percentages, all that stuff. It's going to be so simple. I mean, like I said in the original, maybe like 5 or so minutes of this stream, is a lot of this that we're talking about is on the back end. It makes everything work really, really well, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to the user. It matters to the user in terms of understanding, but the only thing you have to understand is which ROI number is bigger. That's it. You come to the DApp, you click on this page and you say, okay, is this one bigger? Or you toggle over, there's a little toggle above this to go to the staking side and you see the ROI there. If that one's bigger or smaller, you go to the bigger one, do your thing, walk away, come back in 3 months. It's really that simple.
All right. Those are your Easter eggs, everyone. You asked for a demo and you got some, that was a nice button. I like the button. The button's good.
I wish I could give a better button, honestly, or a better demo, but in due time.
It's not a better button.
I mean, it's a pretty good button, man.
It's pretty good. I like the expanding, contracting type of thing. Yeah, it's almost like a pulse, right?
Totally, actually, that's a good point. It's like a pulse, isn't it? Yeah. There's inspiration from everywhere that is in my roots. I mean, man, we didn't even talk about the share system because we're not going deep right now necessarily, but like the amount of share stuff that is inspired from Hex, Hedron, and Icosa in Taurus is off the charts. It's all taken as from the inspiration that I had modeling and talking about it with you, talking about B shares and even going down as deep as M shares. I mean, talking about all that stuff. You know, the shares are critical to Taurus too, but we can talk about that like either another day or some other time. But I see Big Smoke has a question here, and I could definitely address that one. So you don't need Titan X. This is the beautiful thing about Taurus. You don't need to give a shit about Titan X to play ball on Taurus. If you don't like Titan X, fine. You never have to touch it. You can just go to ETH. You can only use ETH. You don't need both. You only choose one. And in this case, if you don't want Titan X, cool, use ETH. And if you don't want ETH, boom, Titan X. It's that easy. You don't have to know what Titan X is, care about what it is at all in order to play with Taurus.
Yeah, I think I didn't see any other questions for now. I just saw people talking about the UI and all this stuff too. Yeah, I think anything else? Yeah, any other final pieces that we didn't talk about that you can, 60 seconds of baby deep dive?
Oh man, 60 seconds of, I mean, you know what? I think just for simplicity, what I will say is go to the Hexplained website if you want to really get the full understanding without having to go through all the different percentages and read the white paper, because it's really, honestly, white papers are always hard to understand. Very few people can actually go into a white paper, read it, and be like, oh wow, okay, I got it, right? Very few people could do that. So what I would recommend is go to hexplained.com, and I'll share my screen again, and I will. And guys, he's made so many different whiteboard explainer videos that are not just Taurus. I mean, if we go to the explore page, he's got the RH ecosystem, Hex, he's got PTGC, GIF. I mean, he's got so much in here, and I couldn't even tell you how many videos. He's got exchanges and liquidity, buying, lending protocols. There's everything. And so if you're to come to Hexplain and you go to, I believe you can even just, I think you can type in Taurus. If not, you go to the Titanx ecosystem, and if none of it interests you, you go all the way down to Taurus. And there's these two videos, Taurus Explained and Why Taurus. Why Taurus is the simplified version of basically the why behind it. And then this video here, Taurus Explained, is also the video that breaks down all the different mechanics, all the key details to tie it all together. So if you want to start here for Why Taurus and end with Taurus Explained, this will give you the complete overview in 10 minutes. You don't need to come to the white paper. You don't need to have a crazy deep dive. This is the way to do it. And then beyond that, you're just exponentially growing your ability to play in the system, because we haven't talked about the game theory at all. And Taurus is a game theory monster. Like I don't know if there's ever been a bigger game theory monster than Taurus, because of how simple it is, but how many options there are within that simplicity.
I think, yeah, maybe we'll do, I need to have another community stream anyway at some point, and maybe we can deep dive into the share system and game theory, and that would be good for sure.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, man. What do you want to take us out on? What's good? What's going on? What to look forward to? When launch dev, all that good stuff.
I mean, I'm Q1 2025. I want this thing to be out as early as possible. I want people to be excited, because I really want people to understand that this is not the end. This is just the beginning of a much larger vision. And I think when people start to see this play out, eyeballs are going to get wide. And so even if you don't want to play in Taurus, that's fine. I think just watching and seeing how it plays out, you might be happily surprised with where things end up. That still comes back to benefit you who are sitting on the sideline in some way. And so, I hope that people have hard questions, because I don't want to shy away from any questions. So if you've watched this and you have questions, I know Big Smoke, you've got kind of like one more question that I could possibly get to in a sec here. But where was I going with that? I'll answer the question. Maybe it'll come back. How much do we need to invest to be successful? That's up to you, man. That's completely up to you. I know it's a stupid answer. It's up to you. But it's not how much you invest. Typically, it's getting in early and being consistent is the name of the game with Taurus. Now, even if you're not in early, being consistent is the way to be successful with Taurus. It's not supposed to be you get in, get out, walk away. It's you go in, you keep playing, you build your portfolio. It's like you're trying to create a golden goose, right? Taurus is the ability for you to create golden gooses, so you can constantly have these reoccurring streams of revenue building and building and building. And that's what I want people to really take away from Taurus, is it's a consistent way to have your golden goose laying you eggs.
All right. Hey, everyone, that's all we got for you today. Scivive and 5555. We are out.
Thanks, everyone.